Rule 11.3.1 states, contact with the net by a player between the antenna during the action of playing the ball is a fault. The action of playing the ball includes, among others, takeoff, hit, or attempt, and landing safely, ready for a new action. (11.4.4) breaks the net rule down even further. This rule defines when a net should be whistled due to interference by a player. There are 5 instances noted. The first one is self-explanatory. When a player is in the action of playing the ball and contacts the net or an antenna, a net fault is whistled. No matter where the player contacts the net or the antenna, it is a fault. The next one simply states that a player may not use the portion of the net between the antennas as a means of support or stabilizing aid. The third one states that a player may also not touch the net in such a way that it would create an unfair advantage over the opponent, even if the player is not in the act of playing the ball. Fourth, a player may also not use actions involving the net which would hinder the opponent's legitimate effort to play the ball. This includes moving into position to contact a ball through the net. And finally, a player may not catch or hold on to the net any time during play, even if not in the action of playing the ball at the time of net contact. And the final part of Rule 11.4.4 states that players in close proximity to the ball as it is played, or who are attempting to play the ball while in close proximity to the ball, are considered to be in the action of playing the ball, even if no contact with the ball is made. But touching the net outside the antenna is not considered a fault unless a player takes support from the pole, stand, or net outside the antenna while playing the ball. In this instance, a net fault would be whistled. And Rule 9.1.3 states that in the playing area, it is never legal for a player to take support from a teammate or object while playing the ball. In this first clip, you see clearly that the outside blocker on your left contacts the net on the way down from the block. He has not completed his blocking action, so the second referee correctly whistles a net fault. In this next clip, watch the setter on your right set the ball and then contact the net after releasing the ball. She has not completed her action and transitioned to the next play, so she is in violation of the net rule and the second referee correctly whistles a net fault. Next, watch the attacker on your left contact the net on his follow-through. Again, since the attacker has not completed his playing action and transitioned to the next one, the second referee correctly whistles a net violation. Now let's take a look at a net contact that needed to be whistled. Remember that any action by a player into the net which hinders an opponent's legitimate attempt to play the ball is interference and therefore by rule a fault. Although these do not happen often, you need to be ready for this type of action. Being in place at the net and stationary assists you in making this call when it does occur. You see the ball passed into the body of the net by the team on the left and number 10 on the right contact the ball through the net. He clearly moves his hand to make the contact, thus causing interference with play. This net contact needed to be whistled. Let's now take a look at a series of clips from different matches, but with similar net contacts. In this first of the series, the setter on the left contacts the ball and sets it outside. At the time the setter contacts the ball, the middle blocker on your right jumps and reaches across the net. Although the ball is set to the outside attacker, the net contact occurs when the ball is in close proximity to the contact, so the second referee correctly whistles a net fault. In this second clip of the series, Watch the setter on your right contact the ball and send it toward the outside attacker. After the ball has been released by the setter, the blocker on the left jumps to block a fake attack by the middle player on your right. On his way down, the blocker contacts the middle of the net. When contacting the net, he is not in close proximity to the ball, which is already being attacked by the outside hitter. Unlike the first clip, this is not a net fault and should not be whistled as such. The net contact is not in close proximity to the ball at the time it occurs. In this last clip in the series, the middle attacker on the left side jumps to attack the ball, but the setter backsets the ball away from the fake by the middle attacker. While the set goes to the right side hitter, the middle attacker contacts the net while completing his attacking action. Since the contact of the net is not in close proximity to the ball, the referees correctly judge this to be a legal net contact and allow play to continue. As you apply the net rules in live play, here are some things to remember. From the time a player moves toward the ball until that player has completed the action and transitioned to the next play, the player is at risk for a net fault. Here are two instances to keep in mind as you watch for net faults. The blocker who brushes the net while moving outside to block the ball that is set outside has committed a net fault. Likewise, the hitter who falls into the net after contacting the ball but before regaining balance and transitioning to the next play has also committed a net fault. One of the other responsibilities of the second referee is to whistle centerline faults. As you can read on this slide, USAV is using a variation from the FIVB rule for centerline faults, USAV 11.2.2. Basically, be aware that any part of the body may completely penetrate into the opponent's court as long as some body part remains in contact or is directly above the center line, and there is no interference or safety hazard involved with penetration into the opponent's court. In this picture, the foot of the player on the right is completely across the center line, but there is no player interference, nor does this pose a safety hazard to any player on the opponent's court. So this penetration into the opponent's court is legal. Here, a player from the right has completely crossed the center line. This penetration must be whistled as a fault, since you can see that there is interference and a safety hazard for the opponent. As a second referee, you must remain on the blocker's side of the net until the players transition away from the net. Follow the attackers and blockers all the way to the floor so you see their feet before both you and the players transition. In this clip, the player on the right approaches the net to play the ball. After setting the ball, she contacts the net and penetrates into the opponent's court. Her penetration into the opponent's court causes both interference and a safety hazard, and the second referee whistles the penetration fault instead of the net fault. As a second referee, it is important to pay close attention to both a potential net fault and centerline fault. Remaining stationary while the play is at the net will help you to decide which fault, if any, occurs first. In this clip, the second referee whistles a centerline violation that is then questioned by the coach on your right. This is a very good example of a centerline penetration that must be whistled. There is an opponent in the area of the play, and the second referee does not wait to see what direction the opponent is going to move. Since he is in the area of the centerline violation, the second referee correctly whistles and stops play. In this clip, you see a possible centerline that was not whistled, but probably needed to be. The player on the right drives hard to the net to attack the ball, landing very close to a centerline fault. As a second referee, you must be disciplined and keep the play in your view until the players transition. Whether you whistle a fault or not, You must watch the players all the way down to the center line before you change your focus. You must be able to say you saw the play occur and did not see a fault. Here are some tips to help you be in the correct position to determine whether potential centerline and net faults are legal or illegal. Remain stationary while the play is at the net. Centerline and net violations take only a moment to occur, and if you are moving, you cannot truly judge whether the contact was illegal or not. Be on the blocker's side as much as possible. The first referee's focus is on the attacker, so your focus on the blocking side of the net helps to ensure that the net contact is correctly judged. Do not transition until the players transition. You need to track the players all the way down to the center line to be able to judge if a violation occurs. When the players move, then it is time for you to begin your transition.